Akashic Remembrance. What is it? How can we access it? And how does it help our ascension process? In this channeled teaching, we will be going into the Akash, or as some call it, the Akashic Records, and we will be understanding how we can begin to activate the connection to our own Akashic record, or Akashic space. Why this is important in this ascending time is because the Akash is a dimension of physicality which is beyond the body, it's beyond the mind, it's beyond the emotions. But it is multidimensional in nature. It is connected to our DNA. And once we begin tapping into the field of our Akash, we can begin remembering certain things like why we chose to incarnate in this lifetime. We can begin awakening certain gifts and abilities that we once had. We can remember the wisdom that we may have gained from different dimensions, different timelines, different lifetimes. And if we are deeply committed to our ascension process, accessing our Akash is a very effective, necessary way to streamline our consciousness so that we don't have to relive the lessons that we learnt many lifetimes ago. We can simply begin awakening and activating the memory, the energetic memory of what is stored in our Akash. And so throughout this talk, this teaching, we'll be going into the Akash. This is also a transmission, so as I speak, you can find a quiet and comfortable place to listen and receive, and we will go deeper into your own personal Akash. As always, we set the intention to connect to our higher self, our family of light, team in spirit. And if you would like to say out loud, you can say with me now, I am ready to receive all that is here for me. And we take a few deep breaths, and we sink into this moment, sink into this body. And we begin to become aware of subtler and subtler experiences, sounds, sensations in the body. Just allowing ourselves to go deeper into this transmission. So, what is the Akash? The Akash is an elusive aspect of life that is hard to explain logically. In yoga, they say this creation is made up of 5 elements: fire, water, earth, air, and Akash, or space. In yoga, they say the Akash is the mother element. It is that element which holds creation. And so when we come to the Akashic Records, we are looking at the energetic imprints that our elemental, our energetic, our mental and emotional memory has stored on the space that we occupy, has stored on our Akashic space. The Akashic space, or the element of the Akash, is very connected to our higher self. Our higher self is that vibrating aspect of ourself that has been with us through lifetime after lifetime after lifetime of physical incarnations. It's that aspect of ourselves that allows us to interpret higher light, higher vibration, and higher understandings through the pineal and third eye. And so when we're working with the Akash, it is very important to go through the higher self. Because the Akash, as a field, is nameless. It is formless, in a way. And so our intentions, when we begin moving into this space, when we begin wanting to work with our own Akashic records, become very important. Because the space of the Akash responds to the intentions that we have developed. the clearer our intentions, the purer the information becomes. The clearer our intentions, the more integrative the energy becomes. And if we cultivate and develop a pure intention and a receptive mindset, a receptive state of being, we then can begin developing a relationship through our higher self with our Akash. I like to use the word Akash because Akashic records linearizes this dimension of consciousness. And that is a problem because our perception of the Akash is so crucial in determining what we will receive from it. Because when we linearize something, we assume we have to go somewhere to get it. And when we speak of Akashic records, there is so much talk of Akashic journeying, or there is so much explanation of how to reach the Akash, or how to make your way into the libraries of the Akash. And because we have a linear mind, because we are a third dimensional consciousness, it's very important to have these symbolisms, and it's very important to have these imageries. But the Akash is not like that. There's nowhere to go to get to it. It's interwoven and interlinked in every single cell of your body. It extends far past your body, and it extends far beyond into time and space. It is a dimension beyond time and space. And so we don't go anywhere to access the Akashic records. We simply deepen our awareness through an understanding of what it is, with a clear intention and a receptive state of being, so that we can drop in or tune in to this field of intelligence. So just take a deep breath and allow that all to sink in. See if you can visualize, as you breathe, a type of mist, a type of blue mist. And you can take deep breaths and feel this blue mist just moving around you, moving around the pores of your body, moving in your breath, moving through your mind, moving through your energy fields. You can even feel it as a type of liquid. But the essential thing is feeling this quality of interconnection. This quality that this mist, this Akashic space, is not beyond you. You don't really have to do any formal training to get there. You can do formal training, and it really helps, but so much of working with this space is around our perception of it and our cognizance, or our understanding of what it is. Because we have to build a conceptual bridge to get there. And why I'm speaking like this, why I'm dancing around the Akash and dancing around what it is because before we get there, we need to build a proper framework so that we can actually access it and we know what we're accessing. It's like if you walked into a library and you didn't know what book you wanted, and there was row after row after row of beautiful books with so much information, valuable information, useless information, positive information, anything you could ever want. But you simply didn't know what you were looking for. You could grab random books off that shelf. You could read them. And you would learn from them. They would give you some value. But you know that you want a single book. You know there's a specific book that you're looking for. Or there's a specific thing you want to know. You just don't know what it is. So we can spend so much time moving through our Akash, yet never knowing how to work with it, never knowing how to access it, or pull from it that which is relevant to us right now. Because there's a lot of irrelevant information stored in your Akash. There's actually a lot of negative tendencies stored in your Akash that you don't need. You simply don't need in this lifetime. And so developing a conceptual framework, and what I mean by that when I say it, is finding the resonance in your mind, emotions, and body through thought forms and understandable concepts that allow you to reach the frequency of your own Akash. So when we develop concepts about the Akash, we are creating thought forms, or we are introducing thought forms into our energetic field. And these thought forms have a certain resonance. And if we can create a thought form that resonates or acts as a bridge to the frequency of the Akash or the Akashic records, then that thought form can help us access these fields much, much easier. And so the first step of understanding, the first concept, is that the Akash is a physical dimension of life, and it is within you and around you. On this ether, this space, all of creation imprints itself. There is the stored memory house of all of creation. Because where there is a dance of elements, where there is a dance of energy, there is a residual memory that is accumulated or imprinted on the Akash. And so when we come to your own Akash, your personal Akashic records, what we mean is your own personal energetic imprint, karmic memory, that is stored in your Akashic space. Why that is unique to you and why you have your own Akashic records is because you have a higher self. And the frequency of your higher self has been the same frequency, elevated or, receded in frequency, but it's been the same essential core tone or core sound or frequency throughout your lifetimes. So each incarnation you've gone into has had the same higher self. Each physical incarnation you've moved into has had the same higher self. So in your Akashic space, your higher self is the one that goes and finds the information that is relevant for you. And it does this because it is in direct resonance with the information of your personal Akash. So developing a relationship with our higher self is a very crucial aspect and a very important, fun practice that we can do to move into a working relationship of our own Akashic records. And how do we do this? Our higher self is a higher vibrating aspect of us. It is that part of us that oversees this entire physical incarnation. And it's that part of us that is connected to the higher dimensions and works as a bridge as we ascend. So that as we become more of our higher self, we start to become more non-physical. And we start being able to access non-physical energies. So when we work with our higher self, I would say a very important part of that is understanding that this higher self is you, is a part of you, is a beautiful, powerful aspect of yourself, with an intelligence. This higher self has thoughts, has intentions, and has awareness that you can connect into. And so in the same way that we want to develop clear intentions and a receptive state of being for the Akashic records, we want to do the same thing for our higher self. But this time the intention will sound like this. I intend to connect with my higher self. I intend to feel the frequency of my higher self. I intend to embody the qualities of my higher self or receive guidance from my higher self. And once we have set the intention, we can go into meditation, or we can take a walk, or we can just be open to feeling the response that comes. And the response that comes may not be the one that we are looking for, because we are not the ones producing this. At least our conscious mind isn't. So we have to open up to a place where we can receive the information from our higher self in a understandable way, and a state of non-judgment or a state of acceptance for what comes. You can even say to your higher self, make this very obvious. Make your signs and information to me very obvious, so it is blunt and clear and understandable. You can talk to your higher self. You can speak to this deeper and higher part of yourself and express your concerns, express your worries, express your fears, and say, higher self, I'm feeling very blocked to connecting with you. I don't feel you. Can you help me work through these blockages? Higher self, I would like to develop a deeper relationship with my Akashic records. Higher self, I would like to connect deeper with my body, my mind, my emotions. Can you please help me? And then you simply have to learn to allow yourself to listen to what comes. And more often than not, it won't be a big bang. You probably won't see an angel before you. Maybe in your mind's eye, you will get a visualization of an angel or of a spirit guide, or whatever form your higher self would like to take. But the point is to be open to what comes. Because when we're communicating with these higher aspects of ourselves, so much of the time it is metaphorical, it is symbolic, it is through imagery. It can even be through our physical reality, through a bump in with a stranger. It can be through a song, it can be through a movie, it can be through a bird. But how you know it's your higher self communicating to you is the frequency that comes when you feel it, when you receive the communication. It will be the frequency of it. And that really is the core essence of developing a relationship with our higher self. It is knowing the frequency of it. Because that is your frequency, your core frequency of your higher self. And the more you begin to start this communication, at the start there may be resistance or fear, or you may not want to accept communication from your higher self. But as you develop this dialogue, you will start to feel what is you and what is the frequency of your higher self. You'll even start to feel the thoughts of your higher self beginning to be streamed to you, the intentions of your higher self, the love that your higher self has for you all the time. Because you may be out of love with you, or a bit not compassionate on your not so good days. But your higher self is never like that. There is no judgment that comes from this part of you. There is absolutely no judgment. There is simply an awareness of where you're at, what your blocks are, your resistance is, and a love. A deep, celebratory, passionate love, an intertwining and an embrace of you in this moment. And that is another beautiful part of developing a relationship with our higher self. The love that we begin to receive will raise our frequency. And because if we want to work with the Akashic records or the Akash, that is of a higher frequency than we generally are living at. So we need to raise our frequency. So as we develop a relationship with our higher self, we begin to raise our frequency. And then as we do that, the possibility of translating the information of our Akashic records becomes available to us. Because we're beginning to resonate at the frequency of our higher self. And our higher self is always resonating at the frequency of our Akash. And so we can develop this utilitarian approach to our higher self, or we can develop an approach of love, an approach of bonding and connection and family. It really depends on what's best for you, what works for you in your own ascension process. And what may work for you one day may not work for you another day. I know for me, I love to see all parts of myself as a lover. I love to imagine dancing with my higher self. I love to imagine playing or having fun or connecting and just chatting with my higher self. I like that kind of intimacy with these parts of myself. And so that is generally what allows me to connect with them easily, is if I imagine that all parts of me are in a partnership with all other parts of me. And so I listen to my higher self, and I feel my higher self listening to me, and then we communicate. And if I have desires or needs, I can express that to my higher self. And for me, that allows me to diffuse a bit of the spiritual bypassing that goes on with these type of things. Because we can tend to over-spiritualize it. We can make it into something it doesn't need to be. Because the energy of our higher self and the energy of these multidimensional parts of ourselves are already sacred. In a way, we don't need to make them sacred, because they are sacred. And when we feel them, we will immediately drop into a space of gratitude and a space of celebration and love and sacredness. So I share that so we just can become aware of the way we're relating to these multidimensional aspects of ourselves. Because many times where we are at in our third dimensional consciousness or at our conscious mind is that we try and impose qualities onto these parts of ourselves, not fully understanding that they have their own qualities and they have a way of being that is actually far beyond what we know. And so when we can intend and surrender, we actually allow ourselves to embody those qualities or feel what they are in a real way, rather than projecting a thought form onto them. Because a lot of the spiritual bypassing that comes up when we attempt to do these things, it's actually a fear of feeling what we think we want to feel. Because we put up these walls, these spiritual walls, or these moralistic walls, because we think that we want to feel our higher self. But the wall is there to actually stop us from doing that, because we are afraid at an unconscious level of connecting with our higher self and truly embodying it. So we believe we need these ways to approach these aspects of ourselves. We believe we need specific practices or techniques, and we judge or block ourselves if we don't do those. Your being is a celebration. Who you are is simply a celebration. And the question is, how do you want to honor that? If you love ceremony, if that is the way you connect to God inside, if that is the way you connect to your Akash, your higher self, go for it. If you love prayer, ecstatic dance, yoga, meditation, if you love drawing, reading, writing, speaking to a beautiful friend, whatever way you like to honor the God inside, the creator within, the higher self, that is your birthright. That is your sacredness. That is how you honor what is inside you. Not from what someone has told you. Not from what a spiritual practice has said you need to do in order to connect to something. Try it out for yourself. You have the power. And there are parts of you that are aware of you that are so amazingly lit up in love, and they will assist you every time. And so I invite you to experiment with these relationships and the way you like to invite sacredness into your life, the way you like to connect to the higher dimensions, and feel the frequency of these higher aspects of your soul. And as you begin to do this, you'll begin resonating with the multidimensional aspects of your energetic field and your consciousness. For example, your Akash, your Akashic records. And what is in your Akashic records are energetic imprints of everything you've done. And if we break that down, spiritual wisdom is a conceptual understanding. You have conceptual understanding in your Akash. Your mind in this lifetime may not have conceptual understanding, but the potential for that conceptual understanding to come back into your mind is available to you. So this is one example of how you can use the Akash. You sit down and say, higher self, I would like you to draw to me in this lifetime all spiritual wisdom, gifts, and healing abilities I have accumulated that are right and ready for me to access at this time. And you take a deep breath, and you allow that to sink in, and you feel the sensations. What else is in your Akash? Body configurations. The body is an energetic pattern, consciousness, and signature. You have had lifetimes of perfect physical health. There is a template of a body consciousness in your Akash that you are reincarnating as. There are many potentials of how this body can function that are in your Akashic records, in your Akash. So another example. Higher self. I would like you to draw to me now the perfect body configuration, bodily health, vitality, abundance, and function from my Akash that is available to me at this time. And you can experiment with the wording, because to really access what is available to you in your Akash, it is about developing that personal connection and experimentation of what is there. Another example are relationships, relationship skills that you may have developed. When I first started an Instagram page, I wanted some graphic design skills. I wanted some ideas for a template for my business, Creating with Light. So I went to bed one night and I sat there and I said, Akash, or higher self, I'd like you to bring to me any lifetime where I had any type of graphic design skill, where I had any type of marketing or social media skills, any information relevant to those topics. I would like you to bring them to me. And when I awoke the next morning, the first thing I woke up with were images and ideas of where to take my business next. Templates, really inspiring, elevating ideas that I'd like to follow, just new conceptual understandings of what I want to do with social media. And I'm still learning, because it takes time to develop that pure connection and reception of information. There's also a bit of a translating period because you're in a new time and space, you're in a new field, so you have to adjust what you knew. But there is so much available to you that is beyond, for example, soul contracts or traumatic past lives, which I know a lot of people use the Akashic records for. There is so much more available to you in your Akash than you've been told. You simply just have to know how to access it. And as you spend more time in the field of your Akash, you'll begin to attune to the vibration of it so that you can go into it in an easier way. Now, what to do if there are negative imprints coming up from your Akash, if you are having dreams or situations playing themselves? Well, the first thing you can do is you can say, higher self, God within, please clear from my Akash anything that is inappropriate for me in this lifetime. Please clear from my Akash any outdated lessons, traumatic imprints, memories, or situations that I don't need to run through. God, I ask for a karmic dispensation of all unjust karma, all negative timelines, all energetic information and situations that I do not need to relive. And you can take a deep breath and you can release that. And whatever follows is a lesson that you may need to go through, a lesson that you may need to learn. And that's okay, because there is always a purification process. And this will come out through dreams, it may come out through life situations, but just know that you are moving through that which you need to move through. It is not being imposed upon you. You're not being attacked. You're remembering what you have gone through in past lifetimes. And with a heavy heart, I say to you, some of you have been through very traumatic experiences in a past lifetime. And you'll have certain tendencies to avoid certain things. But as you work with your higher self, and as you work with your Akash, you'll begin to purify these things, and you'll stop resonating at the frequency of these lower situations and these lower timelines. You won't need to go into past life regression or healing trauma from your Akash. That is a very good, it's a very useful healing modality, But there's a lot more we can do with the Akash when we begin to open up and expand our consciousness. And so if you want to use your Akash to heal yourself, that is a beautiful way. I'm not putting that down at all. Go into your Akash, heal what you need to heal. Regain your power, regain your strength, access your shamanic energies that can move through these dimensions. But just be open for miracles, be open for more abundance and more access of the Akash. Don't limit yourself to moving through dense energies, dense situations. There is so much available to you, but it may require a bit of purification to get there. So allow these words to land in your body. Take a few deep breaths. This is a summary, and it has been a summary of how to access your Akash and how it impacts you. I would like to talk about one last thing before we wrap up this transmission, and that is the way that we receive the energy and the information from our Akash. And the way we do that is, again, we are multidimensional, non-linear beings. When we work through a linear timeline, we have locked ourselves into one way of being, one frame of reality. When we begin to access a non-linear mind, a non-linear state of being, we can then see different timelines. In certain states of consciousness, you can see the timelines around you. If you sit here, you can perceive timelines and you can perceive potentials and where they will take you. But you have to understand that your mind is so much more powerful than being a linear vessel or being a logical instrument. When you think that you're thinking thoughts, some of the time you're receiving thoughts. Or sometimes when you're thinking thoughts, you don't allow yourself to receive thoughts. And higher communication is all about receiving the thought rather than you thinking it. So when we're receiving information from the Akash, we're receiving energetic information as blocks of thought. But our mind is far bigger than what is stored in our brain. It is far bigger than this sense that it is isolated in the head or the mind at our skull or top of the head. Our mind is weaved through our entire body, our entire energy field. And so when we receive a block of thought from the Akash, within that are a huge array of different energies. And they will go into your system in the way they need to. So a thought form may have a bodily command within it, and you might feel that in your sacral. But for you to know that's what you're feeling and where it's coming from, you need to have a healthy body. You need to have an open mind. You need to be fit and receptive. And you need to be flexible in the way that you're receiving information. Because if you want to get spiritual wisdom from your Akash, the way your higher self might bring that to you is by taking you to a cafe to have a conversation with someone that is holding the reflection of spiritual wisdom that you accumulated over some lifetimes ago. And the way that you receive that is by having that high vibrational, connected conversation with that person. Now that person isn't carrying the spiritual wisdom, but they are reflecting to you. Your higher self has brought them to you to reflect the codes back to you, to reflect the information back to you. It could be through different food choices. It could be through meditating. It could be through going for a walk in a particular area. Because when we're moving around this world, we're actually moving around ourself. And our higher self is constantly adjusting and aligning the movements of our energetic field so that we can find the resonance with more of ourself. So when we access the information from the Akash, we need to be open to life changes. We need to be open to a new way of understanding and conceptualizing who we are. Because this information can't get in if we have a very rigid energy body, if we have a very rigid mind or emotions. If we're committed to staying where we are or staying as who we are, we cannot invite anything new in. This is why surrender is so important, or becoming receptive is so important. Because the ascension process is about embracing the new and embracing the unknown. And there may be fear with that. And there's always going to be fear. There's always going to be a slight element of anticipation. Maybe not fear. That will go away. As you trust this process, fear will go away. It will drop off very easily. But as we're beginning, the fear is not necessarily a sign that something's going wrong. It's not necessarily a sign there are dark energies or negative entities attaching to you. It can just be a sign of positive change. And that is truly up to your own intuition to know if that is what is happening to you, and that is where you are going. But to receive the information from our Akash, and the extent that we integrate that will depend very much on how committed we are to doing that, how committed we are to changing and moving with these energies, and how receptive we are to feeling and listening the way that these things want to be brought into our reality. And the way you can improve that is through a healthy diet, it is through right thinking, it is through harmonious relationship with our body, being open to your emotional energies. If you're a woman, being open to your cycles, being open to the way that energy wants to flow through you, and just being open to life around you and the world around you, and what it wants to express to you. And this can be quite hard if we're afraid of the world. That is another topic. But within you is a beauty and a strength unmatched by anything. The light of your heart, the light of your higher self, is so bright. And the more we can trust and feel and intend to move into a higher dimension of light, the more access we can have to healing. The more access we can have to empathy, compassion, understanding. It's all available to you. And so this is the transmission on the Akash. There will be a healing, a free healing on YouTube to accompany this. That will be a healing to guide you through this process and connect you into your own way of working with the Akash through your higher self. If you would like to go deeper with this work, I also have a mini course on my website that will take you through more teachings and more healings to allow you to activate and embody the potential of your Akashic records. This is Connor from Creating with Light. I hope this has served you in the deepest way that is meant for you. Many blessings.